Hello everyone, today we're looking at the Batman of Christopher Nolan's Dark Knight trilogy, a figure defined as much by tragedy as by purpose, someone who reshapes his trauma into the image of a guardian, a watchful protector. So, let's take a look. Also, please like, share, and hit the bell, it will greatly help the channel. When we see Bruce as Batman, he relies heavily on shadows, stealth, and intimidation. His presence is meant to be felt before he's even seen. Criminals fear him not just because he's strong, but because he's mythic. Whether that fear is meant to deter crime or simply satisfy his desire for vengeance is left open to interpretation. We also see his martial skill. He can take down multiple opponents at once, but he only fights directly when he has no other choice. His preference is always the safer, more controlled option. And unlike some other versions of Batman, this one relies heavily on technology, like Lucius Fox's gadgets. This Batman is cautious and aware of his own limits. But this lifestyle only works at night. To move freely in the day, he must be Bruce Wayne, or rather, the performance of Bruce Wayne. The billionaire playboy persona is a mask just as much as the cowl is. We see this in scenes like the hotel fountain incident or his birthday party, where he pushes people away to protect his secret. Beneath both masks is the same wounded child. Bruce's journey begins with fear. As a child, he falls into a well and was swarmed by bats, which was his first encounter with helplessness. His father rescues him, literally pulling him out of the darkness. Essentially, his parents are his guiding light, the ones who helped him with his fears. Thomas Wayne becomes Bruce's ideal, a compassionate man who uses his influence to help Gotham, just as he helped him. And he was told that his father combated poverty so much that he affected the League of Shadows' original plan of destroying Gotham with economics. But that ideal shatters the night his parents are murdered. Bruce blames himself for wanting to leave the opera early because he got scared. But Alfred reassures him that the fault lies with Joe Chill, not him. But the guilt doesn't just disappear because someone tells you it should. From that moment on, Bruce develops a need to act against injustice, both to honor his parents and to redeem himself for showing fear that night. When Bruce returns to Gotham years later, he learns Joe Chill is being released for helping the police hunt down members of the mob. Bruce sees this as a betrayal of justice and plans to kill him himself. Essentially, at this point, he points all the blame on one person. But he later learns it's more complicated than that. Before he can act, Chill is murdered by one of Falcone's associates for helping the police. Rachel confronts Bruce afterwards, explaining that Gotham's corruption, not just Joe Chill, killed his parents, and now it will create more Joe Chills. When Bruce reveals the gun he brought, she tells him his father would be ashamed. It's the first moment Bruce realizes he's drifting away from the man he wants to become. Bruce confronts Falcone, and Falcone cuts through Bruce's self-righteousness. He tells him he's only acting recklessly because he thinks he has nothing to lose, but he does. He explains he has wealth, safety, and people who care about him. Most of Gotham has none of that. This conversation forces Bruce to confront the limits of his understanding. So he leaves Gotham entirely. He immerses himself in the criminal underworld, not to become a criminal, but to understand desperation. But he refuses to sink to their level, helping the poor when he can while experiencing what it means to lose everything. This shapes his humility and reconnects him with his father's ideals, but it's still only a little bit of helping. He's still just a man, not the legend like his father was. So this is where Ra's al Ghul comes in, who tells him he can be a legend like his father was, someone who can really make a difference. And so, he follows his instructions and meets him. He learns to turn fear into a weapon. He learns to use deception, misdirection, and how to use certain tools like smoke bombs in his surroundings. Ra's becomes a mentor, teaching him to channel his trauma into strength. But Ra's also represents a dangerous ideology. His first sign is when he blames his father for refusing to act. When Bruce has to execute a criminal as part of his final test, he draws a line. He will fight injustice, but he will not become an executioner. Mercy, he argues, is what separates him from the people he fights. After learning the League's plan to destroy Gotham, Bruce burns the place and escapes. He decides to return home with a new purpose. Back in Gotham, Bruce takes control of Wayne Enterprises and uses its resources to build the tools he needs. Inspired by the League's teachings and his own childhood fear, he chooses bats as his symbol. If criminals share his fear, then the innocent can feel safe. But his first major challenge comes from Dr. Jonathan Crane, the Scarecrow, whose fear toxins forces Bruce to confront the very thing he thought he had mastered. It's a reminder that fear isn't something you defeat once, it's something you continually face. When Roz returns with a plan to finish what the League started, destroying Gotham, only he plans to use fear toxins in the water supply instead, Bruce turns to one man he instinctively trusts, Jim Gordon, the officer who comforted him as a child. Together, they stop the League's plan. Bruce defeats Roz, choosing not to save him, but refusing to kill him directly. Though Batman wins, the ending is bittersweet. Bruce hopes that once Gotham is safe, he can finally be with Rachel and leave Batman behind. But at this point, he's caught between his Bruce Wayne Playboy persona and his Batman mask, both are what he has to show in the public. But the longer this goes on and the tougher criminals get, the more those two sides are his only sides. The events of The Dark Knight presents Bruce Wayne with the most difficult challenge of his life. At this point, Batman is established, feared, and effective. His presence has reshaped Gotham. People are doing what they can to now fight the mob instead of just dealing with them, to a point where criminals are scared to go out at night. The mob is losing power, and every ordinary citizen are putting on hockey pants and trying to imitate Batman. His symbol has grown beyond his control, and that's both a victory and a danger. This shift in Gotham's atmosphere creates space for someone like Harvey Dent. Dent is not inspired by Batman, but Batman's war on crime has made the city desperate for a public hero, someone who can fight corruption in the daylight. Dent is that person. He becomes Gotham's White Knight, a man who understands criminals, knows the system, and genuinely wants to clean up the city with no mob boss corrupting him. He represents everything Bruce hopes Gotham can eventually rely on instead of Batman, but Batman's success also creates his opposite. The Joker emerges as a response. He is cunning and manipulative, and the mob turns to him because the mafia must go underground and hide in the shadows because they have to protect their public persona. The Joker, however, doesn't care about hiding because, as Gordon says, he has no name, no alias, and clothing is custom. He can be this super criminal without anybody finding him. Alfred says the mob has been pushed to desperation, and desperate men turn to someone they don't fully understand. This was the effect of Batman's war on crime. The Joker represents a new kind of fear, one Gotham isn't prepared for, and because Batman changed the rules of the city, the Joker feels entitled to change them again. So naturally, this makes him at first seem like a bigger roadblock. So Bruce tries to understand what the Joker wants, but Alfred warns him that some men aren't motivated by money or power. He then tells the story of a bandit raiding a group of tribal leaders' caravans for precious stones they were carrying. And when Alfred and some men went to find who traded with him, they couldn't. Then Alfred saw a kid playing with one of those stones. The bandit was throwing them away. He didn't steal the rubies or stones for profit or to fill his pockets. He did it because he thought it was fun. This gives him a hint of what the Joker is like and what Batman must face. Bruce sees Harvey as the key to retiring Batman. If Harvey can defeat the mob legally, Bruce can finally step away. However, Harvey can't fight someone like the Joker. The Joker doesn't follow rules, doesn't fear consequences, and doesn't care about the law. Meanwhile, Batman's name is getting smeared because Joker is seemingly killing people because Batman is not turning himself in. So Batman is now a symbol of chaos. He then decides to turn himself in, thinking Batman can't endure this. He can upgrade his suit, his vehicles, and help the police, but when things happen like the death of Jim Gordon, most of the cops, and now Harvey Dent's life being on the line because of him, he believes he has to turn himself in. However, Alfred tells him to endure, that he can make the choices that no one else would face. He can be whatever symbol the city needs him to be, and he might be right, since this action is simply playing the Joker's game, and the Joker is a man who cheats. Harvey steps forward and claims to be Batman. Harvey understands that the symbol matters more than the man. He sacrifices his reputation to protect the real Batman and to deny the Joker the satisfaction of breaking him. This also sets a trap for the Joker to lure him in, which causes him to be arrested. But the Joker is already taking several steps ahead. In the interrogation room, Batman tries to use fear and strength, the tools that worked on ordinary criminals, but the Joker isn't intimidated. Batman has fought the Joker before, but rarely did he use his real skill. We first see Batman try when he threatens to kill him, but the Joker just stands there and says, "Hit me." But Batman wouldn't do that. The Joker tells him he has changed things forever, but the people want him here so they can go back to the way things were. And in some ways, this is true. Batman is not a cop. Ever since he showed up, there was a spike. It caused a ripple effect. And since the Joker is here, they think Batman can beat him so things can go back to normal. He tells Batman that to them, you're just a freak. They need you right now, but when they don't, they'll cast you out. Bruce told Ra's al Ghul that his mercy is important since it's something the enemies will not share. The Joker challenges this. He says they are morals and codes that are only as good as the world allows them to be, and the moment that things get worse, they will break those codes. Batman is now faced with someone who is not just more cunning or conniving, he is facing off with someone who is directly trying to prove that his codes can't survive in this situation. This creates a dilemma. If he keeps to his code, he might not be able to beat the Joker, but if he lets it go, it will prove Ra's al Ghul right. So in order to beat the Joker, he has to become a legend. But right now, he is still simply Bruce Wayne. So when the Joker tells him where Rachel and Harvey are, he decides to go after Rachel. This shows he's not willing to sacrifice for the sake of Gotham. He's still not ready to endure or make the hard choices to become a legend. But he can't beat the Joker like this. He is still playing his games. The Joker anticipates this and switches the locations. Rachel dies, Harvey is physically and emotionally scarred. Harvey loses everything: Rachel, his idealism, and his belief in justice. So the Joker turns him into a weapon. Bruce is devastated. He feels responsible for Rachel's death and Harvey's scarring. He feels he inspired this, when he was meant to inspire good. But Alfred says he has, but also spat in the faces of Gotham's criminals, and that things were always going to get worse before they got better. Now that the White Knight's armor has been dented, Gotham has to do with Batman, which is a sign that he might not be able to see Batman as a temporal thing. To stop the Joker, Batman uses a city-wide sonar system built from every citizen's phone. Lucius is horrified, but Bruce insists it's necessary. This is the moment Batman sacrifices another piece of his humanity for Gotham's survival. The plan works. Batman stops the Joker and prevents the ferry passengers from killing each other. The Joker calls Batman an immovable object, though this is where the Joker's lapse in judgment is. Batman is movable, but it's the people of Gotham that pick him back up. But the Joker reveals his final victory plan: Harvey Dent. Batman confronts Harvey and tries to remind him of who he was, the best of Gotham. But Harvey has embraced the Joker's worldview. The world is cruel, and fairness is an illusion. One key thing that caused his downfall was his vanity, his own self-belief in himself, underestimating criminals and even his own men. He made his own luck. He he confidently showed off his cool public persona and his relationship with Rachel. Batman saw the ugly side of Gotham. Harvey possibly didn't, and so he fell. His perfect view of Gotham turns out to be harder to face than he thought, and he basically can't adapt. He was simply moved. Batman stops him, but Harvey dies. If Gotham learns the truth, everything Harvey stood for collapses and the Joker wins. So Batman makes the ultimate sacrifice. He takes the blame for Harvey's crimes. He becomes the villain Gotham needs him to be. He gives up his reputation, his humanity. Since Harvey's reputation helps the city, he says the people need to have their faith rewarded. In The Dark Knight Rises, 8 years have passed since the events of The Dark Knight. In that time, the Harvey Dent Act has taken effect, essentially turning Gotham into a tightly controlled city where criminals are kept off the streets. This legislation eliminates organized crime and strengthens the power of Gotham's institutions. But with no mob, no major criminal threats, and with no new Joker-like figure, Batman finds himself without a purpose. With nothing left to fight, he hangs up the cape and cowl. From the very first film, Bruce had to strip away nearly everything that made him human or capable of living a normal life. So when Gotham no longer needs Batman, the original genuine Bruce Wayne is effectively gone. There was, however, an attempt to create a renewable energy source that could improve Gotham, an idea Bruce invested in heavily. Miranda Tate, one of the project's supporters, continued to push for it, but once Bruce discovered the device could be weaponized, he shut down the project, losing Wayne Enterprises a fortune. In my opinion, this was Bruce's attempt to help Gotham the way his father once did, by providing a better future without relying on Batman. But when this effort failed, he was forced to confront the reality that he no longer had a future and no way to protect Gotham. His isolation grew so severe that he refuses to see anyone, leading to rumors about his disfigurement or supposed accidents. Everything changes when Selina Kyle, working for Bane, breaks into Wayne Manor to steal his fingerprints. Bruce decides to investigate. Alfred jokingly suggests Bruce should pursue her romantically, but the truth is, Alfred wants Bruce to rejoin the world. He reveals that he never wanted Bruce to return to Gotham as Batman. He wanted him to find a life beyond the city, away from pain. This is the sacrifice of becoming a legend. Once the legend is no longer needed, there is no room left for a real life, and with Rachel gone, Bruce believes he has no life waiting for him. Because of Bruce's reclusive behavior and the financial strain on the company, Wayne Enterprises stops funding orphanages. This creates a ripple effect. Some boys end up on the streets where they fall into Bane's cult and ultimately die. Blake was one of these orphans before all this, and he admits he still believes in Batman. He also reveals he knows Bruce is Batman and admires him, understanding the burden Bruce carries from Harvey Dent's death. Batman's influence is still felt. Bruce later attends a masquerade ball where Miranda again urges him to revive the Energy Project. He refuses, and she accuses him of failing to make the necessary choices to save the world. He then meets Selina again. The detail that he isn't wearing a mask is important. Bruce Wayne is the mask. The billionaire playboy persona is the disguise. Bruce immediately recognizes Selina as a thief, not a social climber, and understands that stealing his fingerprints isn't just about money. She's working for dangerous people. Selina warns him that a storm is coming. Her stealing his car is the first sign of him slipping from what he used to be. Bruce eventually learns about the threat he's facing, a monstrous figure who can match or surpass Batman in almost every way, a former member of the League of Shadows. Bane wasn't just trained by them, he was shaped by them. Bruce, weakened and out of practice, is nowhere near his peak. After returning as Batman and rescuing hostages, he discovers Bane used his stolen fingerprints to manipulate the stock exchange. Bruce tells Alfred to give the information to Lucius Fox, but Alfred refuses to stay any longer. He fears Bruce will die, and he reveals that Rachel chose Harvey Dent over Bruce. This devastates him and leaves him emotionally vulnerable. With Alfred gone and his fortune destroyed by Bane's stock manipulation, Bruce is left with only Fox as an ally. Roland Daggett attempts to seize control of Wayne Enterprises, forcing Bruce to trust Miranda with the company and the fusion reactor. She becomes another potential escape for his collapsing life. But everything comes crashing down when Selina leads Batman to Bane. Bane brutally defeats him, telling him that victory has defeated you. It's true, Batman is not who he once was. Bruce believed he was the symbol, the legend, and he was, but his body is not. The legend is his spirit. Bane knows this, so he doesn't want to kill him, he wants to break him. Once Bane breaks his back, he sends Bruce to a prison designed to give inmates false hope. From there, Bruce is forced to watch Gotham's destruction. He learns that only one person, a child born in darkness, the child of Ra's al Ghul, has ever escaped. After recovering from his injuries, he attempts to climb out of the pit. His first attempts with the rope fail, though. And this is important because the rope symbolizes his father and the privilege he got. Thomas saved Bruce in the well, always giving him security, but that security is what held him back, causing him to cling to other ropes like his tech and Rachel and Harvey. But all that did was leave him vulnerable. Only when he climbs without the rope, embracing fear, he finally escapes the prison. Bane exposes Harvey Dent's crimes, releasing the prisoners and plunging Gotham into chaos, essentially turning it into a version of no man's land. When Bruce gets back to Gotham, he recruits Selina Kyle by offering her a clean slate, seeing the good in her. He does this possibly because he did live a life on the streets in Batman Begins, and she might remind him of someone who actually was forced to live like that and really be a criminal. Blake lights the bat signal, giving Gotham hope again. When the police are freed from the sewers and the final battle begins, Batman fights Bane in the daylight, and he manages to beat Bane, but the final twist reveals Miranda as Talia al Ghul, the true child of Ra's al Ghul. Bane was merely her protector. She holds the detonator. Later on, she reveals she sabotaged the device, essentially ensuring the bomb cannot be stopped. With no other choice, Batman flies the bomb over the ocean, sacrificing himself to save Gotham. This act frees Bruce from the burden of being Batman. Though believed dead, he survives and escapes with Selina Kyle, finally finding a life beyond Gotham. Meanwhile, Blake discovers the Batcave, suggesting he will carry on the Batman legacy. So who was the Dark Knight? He was an idea shaped by trauma, strengthened by hope, and defined by the city he swore to protect. A man who learned to turn fear into a weapon. He walked through the darkest parts of the world so he could stand against injustice. Again and again, Bruce was pushed to his limits, tested to see whether he could carry the weight of that idea. And he did. He kept the symbol alive long enough for Gotham to believe in it, long enough for others to be inspired by it, long enough for Batman to become more than a man, to become a legend. Thanks for watching.